They told me never to trust a shortcut on the ice roads. But when your GPS says turn, you turn, right? Well, I turned. And I ended up in a place no map can reach. A place where time don't tick, snow don't melt, and the wind whispers in Cree. This one's called The Frozen Road to Nowhere. Part 1, Turn Right, into the Unknown. Now listen, I'm not one to back down from a job. I've cleaned out basements, driven Uber through ghost towns, and even did a week as a haunted food truck operator. But this job up in the Northwest Territories of Canada, this one changed me. I signed up for what they called emergency ice freight. Basically, I was the guy who drove supplies over frozen lakes and tundra, connecting remote villages that no plane could reach this time of year. The pay damn good. The risk, I figured it couldn't be worse than rush hour in Detroit. Boy, was I wrong. They gave me a heavy-duty rig, 8 wheels, reinforced tires, GPS calibrated for snow squalls. My first run was supposed to be simple. Just a drive from Yellowknife to a little settlement called Kitsilano, right on the edge of the Nahanni Range. Don't stop, the dispatcher said, handing me the keys with that look in his eyes. And whatever you do, don't take directions from the truck's GPS past mile marker 73. I laughed. What's it gonna do, reroute me to the North Pole? He didn't laugh back. I took off just before dawn, the kind of cold where your breath freezes midair. Snow crunched under the tires like bones. I had the heater blasting, a thermos full of coffee, and old Johnny Cash humming through the radio static. For the first couple hours, everything was smooth. Big sky, white fields, the occasional moose staring at me like I owed it money. But just past mile marker 72, that little GPS screen blinked, glitched once, and then calmly said, turn right in 500 meters. Now, I wasn't supposed to turn. The road ahead was still clear. But I figured maybe it had rerouted me around a patch of thin ice or a downed tree. These systems were updated hourly. Right, I made the turn. The road narrowed fast. Trees leaned in close, like they were whispering secrets to each other. And then, there was nothing. Just snow. Endless white. But the GPS kept talking like everything was fine. Continue straight for 12 kilometers. Except there was no straight. No road. No sign of where I'd come from. The rear view mirror, all it showed was fog. I slowed the truck to a crawl. That's when I noticed something real odd. The snow wasn't falling. It was just hanging in the air, still, like it was caught in a photograph. And the sky above not gray. Not blue. Just blank. And then I heard it. A voice. Soft, whispery. Like someone murmuring behind a closed door. It wasn't English. It wasn't French either. Later, someone told me it was Cree. I don't know much about the language, but I know what fear sounds like, and this was a warning. It said, over and over. I slammed the brakes. Got out. Looked around. Nothing. No trees. No wind. Just stillness. Until I looked under the truck. Footprints. Bare, human footprints. Leading away from my rig, disappearing into the snow that didn't fall. I ain't ashamed to say I climbed back in and locked the doors so fast I dropped my coffee. Then the GPS spoke again. Welcome to Kitsilano. That's when I saw it. A single light. Flickering in the distance. Like a lantern swaying in someone's hand. And behind it? Shadows. Not moving right. Not walking like folks. More like sliding. Floating. Now I don't scare easy, but something in my bones told me, this ain't no village. I hit reverse. The truck wouldn't budge. The snow beneath the tires was gone. I was parked on solid ice and below it I saw faces. Frozen people. Trying to scream. You ever have a moment so cold, so still, that even your memories start to freeze up? That's where I was sitting in a dead silent rig on top of a sheet of ice thick enough to bury secrets, staring down at frozen faces under the surface. And those eyes, they weren't just looking up. They were watching me. I fumbled for the ignition. Turned the key. Nothing. Not even a click. Radio dead. Phone one red bar, then it blinked out. No signal. No GPS. Just me, a full tank of diesel, and the kind of silence that don't belong in the real world. I should VE stayed inside the truck. I should VE just closed my eyes and waited for daylight. But no. I opened the door. I stepped out onto the ice. It didn't creak. Didn't shift. Felt almost too solid, like glass set in concrete. I followed the direction where that flickering light had been, hoping maybe just maybe this was some backwoods survival cabin and someone could help. But the farther I walked, the colder it got. Not the kind of cold that bites your skin. No. This cold worked deeper. It crawled into your thoughts. It made you forget what warmth ever felt like. After what felt like 10 minutes or maybe an hour, I couldn't tell anymore. I saw it. A building. One single wooden shack standing crooked on the ice, with smoke curling out of a stovepipe that looked about 100 years old. Windows blacked out. One door. One step. And a mailbox. What the hell was a mailbox doing out here? Carved into the wood was a word in Cree I couldn't read. But underneath it, scratched in English, were 4 letters, Nile. Nile made no sense. This wasn't Egypt. This was north of nowhere. I stepped up to the door. Knocked once. The knock echoed. And I swear, it echoed back with one extra knock. Then the door creaked open. By itself. Inside, it was warm. But not cozy warm. The kind of heat that presses down on your chest and makes you sweat in fear. The room was lined with mirrors. Dozens. All of them fogged, cracked, or covered in frost except one. In that mirror, I saw myself. But it wasn't me. It was me wearing different clothes. A thick coat I didn't own. A face that looked older. Tired. Frozen, and I was standing next to the truck. I spun around. Nothing behind me. Looked back in the mirror. Now he was knocking on the cab door of the rig. 3 knocks. Then I heard them. Right outside the shack I was in now. 3 knocks. I backed up fast, knocking over a chair. It landed with a thud, and the floor cracked. Not splintered, cracked like ice. The warmth dropped. Room went cold in an instant. Then I heard the voice again. That whispering in Cree, rising all around me. I still didn't know what it was saying. But the mirror me mouthed it slowly. Over and over. And then. Crack. The floor gave way. I dropped through the ice. I don't remember falling. I don't remember landing. All I know is I opened my eyes and I was back in the truck, hands gripping the wheel, knuckles white. It was daylight. The GPS was off. Radio silent. And the snow, it was falling again. Not floating falling, like it was supposed to. I sat there for a good minute trying to breathe. To make sense of any of it. Then I glanced at the dashboard clock. It said June 18th. Middle of summer. But outside the world looked like dead winter. I turned the key. This time, the engine roared back to life. I didn't waste a second. Spun the rig around, don't ask me how, I just did, and drove straight back toward mile marker 72 like the devil himself was chasing me. Didn't see a road. Didn't care. I just drove until the ice faded into slush, slush turned to gravel, and gravel led me back to a real road. When I finally made it back to Yellowknife, the dispatcher met me at the station. He looked at me, pale as the damn snow outside, and said, "Where the hell have you been?" I said, "What do you mean that was a one-day run?" He pulled out his clipboard. Checked the date. Shook his head. "Drew," he said slowly, "you've been gone 6 days. I didn't sleep after I got back. Didn't shower. Didn't eat. Just sat in the cab of my truck in the station lot for hours, staring at the windshield like it could tell me what just happened. How I drove one delivery route in a single night, and somehow lost 6 days doing it. They said the GPS must be malfunctioned. Said maybe I slipped on black ice, hit my head, hallucinated the whole damn thing. But that mirror in the shack, that whisper in the dark, and those frozen eyes under the ice, they weren't dreams. They were memories now. Stuck with me. And I wasn't about to go back out. But then the station phone rang. Dispatcher handed me the receiver. "Guy asked for you by name," he said. Sounded Cree. Said it was about your unfinished route. I almost dropped the phone. On the other end, the voice was low. Measured. Spoke like someone who'd seen too much of the world and learned to keep secrets. "You left something behind," he said. "What?" "Your shadow." Click. The line went dead. I should let it go. Walked away. Got on a plane. Left the whole frozen north behind. But that night, something dragged me back. Not fear. Not guilt, curiosity. So I checked the manifest. Looked over every delivery ID supposedly made. And found one entry that didn't belong. No timestamp. No route ID. Just one line, "Final package, Box 66, Nile Station." Nile. That damn name again. I drove out the next morning with a new rig. Told the boys I was just going for a test run. Didn't bother loading supplies. Didn't need a GPS either. Because somehow, I remembered the route now. Every twist, every empty patch of trees. Like the road was burned into my brain. The deeper I went, the colder it got. But not like before. This cold had rhythm. Like it was breathing. And just when I expected the ice field to return, the road stopped. Vanished. Replaced by a wall of pine trees so black they looked painted onto the sky. But there, buried halfway in the snow, was a wooden post. On it, a sign. "Welcome to Nile." And underneath it, in perfect print, "Population, 0." I got out and found the shack again. Only this time, it wasn't a shack. It was a station, an old, crumbling depot, covered in frost and vines, half sunk into the tundra. And beside it was a sled. On the sled a box. Box 66. I don't know what possessed me to open it. But I did. Inside, was a mirror. Cracked down the middle. Wrapped in fur. and etched in Cree was a word I still couldn't read. But this time, I didn't need to. Because the mirror reflected something that wasn't me. Wasn't anyone. It was the landscape I stood in. Frozen trees. Gray sky. Tracks leading away from the station. And right in the middle of the reflection, a figure. Hunched. Wrapped in tattered coats. Walking away, barefoot in the snow, leaving no footprints. I took the mirror back to the truck. Set it in the passenger seat. And started to drive. Didn't he know where I was going? Didn't he care? The only thing that mattered was the voice in my head now. The same voice that whispered in the mirror before I dropped through the floor. This time, it was in English. But it said the same thing over and over: every road you leave behind, eventually catches up. I drove for hours. The world around me blurred. Sky grew dark, then light, then dark again. No stars. No sun. Just the road, and my reflection in the glass. And behind me footsteps in the snow. Not mine. When I finally saw the Yellowknife City sign again, I almost cried. I rolled up to the station, parked, and shut off the engine. The dispatcher came out, confused. "You okay, Drew?" "Yeah," I lied. "You got something in the seat." I looked over. The mirror was gone. Only thing left was a patch of frost on the seat, shaped like a handprint. I quit that job the next day. Got a new gig somewhere warmer. But sometimes when I'm alone in my truck and the night gets too quiet, I check the rear view. And every so often, I see tracks coming from nowhere. Heading right toward me.